Today we are talking about stock market crashes. There is a reason why legendary investors like Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch or Jack Bogle have made billions of dollars on their investments. All had the same in common. They all knew how to master the biggest stock market crashes in history, not by avoiding them, but by turning them into mega opportunities. I have analyzed hundreds of the top investors and they all follow the same playbook during stock market crashes. And in this video I'm going to break it all down, because there are 3 massive mistakes investors are making during stock market crashes, and I will tell you exactly how to avoid them. The crash itself isn't the real danger. There is a hidden survival trigger in the brain that gets activated during times of panic. And when this secret survival mechanism gets triggered, it hijacks your logic and forces you to make irrational decisions without you even realizing it. By the way, I'm Maurice. I've helped thousands of investors over the last 15 years to grow their wealth exponentially smarter and faster. Why do we focus so much more on the negative side than the positive side? Well, this little game will explain it perfectly.
Let's say you're on a game show. You've already earned $1,000 in the first round when you land on the bonus space. Now you have a choice. You can either take a $500 bonus, guaranteed, or you can flip a coin. If it's heads, you win a $1,000 bonus. If it's tails, you get no bonus at all. In the second round, you've earned $2,000 when you land on the penalty space. Now you have another choice. You can either take a $500 loss or try your luck at the coin flip. If it's heads, you lose nothing. But if it's tails, you lose $1,000 instead. If you're like most people, you probably chose to take the guaranteed bonus in the first round and flip the coin in the second round. But if you think about it, this makes no sense. The odds and outcomes in both rounds are exactly the same. So why does the second round seem much scarier? The answer lies in a phenomenon known as loss aversion. Under rational economic theory, our decisions should follow a simple mathematical equation that weighs the level of risk against the amount at stake. But studies have found that for many people, the negative psychological impact we feel from losing something is about twice as strong as the positive impact of gaining the same thing.
Now, loss aversion makes people fear losses more than they value gains. This leads us to the #1 mistake in investing: letting emotions win over logic. And here's the irony, and something a lot of investors don't know. Since 1926, the stock market, like the S&P 500, went up about 75% of the time. That simply means that out of nearly 100 years, around 3 out of 4 years are up years. So why would you even worry about a stock market crash if the long-term odds are clearly in your favor? Yet most retail investors spend too much time worrying about the 25% of the time the market goes down. And this is exactly the reason why I like Stoicism, because Stoicism teaches us one of the most important things, and that is to separate what we can control from what we cannot. You cannot control the market's ups and downs, but you can control your reaction to them. So what is the best way to overcome loss aversion? The best way to overcome loss aversion is to remind yourself of these 3 things. Downturns are temporary, the market's long-term trend is upward, focus on what you can control, your reaction. Alright, let's dive into mistake number 2. Trying to time the market instead of time in the market. One of the biggest traps retail investors fall into is trying to avoid market crashing. They think that by getting in and out of the market when emotions are high and the news is full of fear, they can somehow avoid the losses. And to be honest, it took me a long time to really understand this myself. But here's what I learned the hard way. Even for professional investors, getting it right consistently is impossible.
And this last 50% decline, one of I think 4 I've experienced, they're all different. That's one really important thing. Don't say I've seen all this before. Very few times does the same thing happen twice, and in the financial markets, the same problems happen twice. Yeah, each one is its own. There's some statement like, all happy families are alike and all unhappy families are different, but all unhappy families are alike in their own way, or something like that. And the problem here is that all these bear markets are very, very different, inspired by different things, sometimes mathematics, sometimes investors' emotions, and sometimes by external factors.
And even if you are still not convinced yet and you manage to get it right once, you are still halfway there. So let me explain what I mean, because once you really understand this, it can make a huge difference in how you think and react during a market crash. When you try to time the market, you face 3 big challenges. You need to step out of the market at exactly the right time. So let's say you do pull it off. You sense a downturn and exit it right before a big crash. The market drops 5% and the next day another 5%. And on paper you have saved yourself a 10% loss. But then challenge 2 comes in. When the market drops, people start acting like it's the end of the world again. And that's exactly why I want to show you this in this video and how we get influenced by it.
All right. Anybody up for a little bit of mind reading? Christian, nice to meet you, Christian. Okay, do this for me. Think of a tune. I want you to get a tune in your head. And I want you to make it a tune that's well known, that people would know about if they heard it. All right? I'm going to ask you to play it in your head, nothing out loud, but sort of whistle it or hum it to yourself, but just get it in your head. Have you got something? Slow down a little bit, perhaps a little bit slower than it would normally play. There's a slightly stringy feel to it. Would that be right? Yeah. I imagine if it's a pop song, it's probably like with maybe a guitar and strings mainly. It's not a big band sound, but it is a band. So it's a band song. It starts off na na like that. Yeah, something ba da da ba. Is something like that? Keep looking at me. Right. Now just turn up the volume in your mind. Turn it up so you make it louder, louder and louder, so you can almost hear it for real. Let's rewind back through Christian's day before he went to the pub. Well, if we could get back in. I don't think so, no, I think she's there purely as a...
Unloaded. And in the actual new office, it all piles in and sets out.
Now, the magician plants a song like a subtle echo in the participants' minds using an anchoring technique to quietly influence their choice. It feels like they picked the song on their own, but in reality they were guided by the trick in their mind. And if you like it or not, the same thing happens when you constantly watch the financial news. The headlines, the fear and the drama becomes mental anchors in your mind, and this subconsciously influence your investment decisions without you even realizing it. Can you see how important this is for your investment decisions? Let's go back to the challenge of stepping out of the market in the beginning. Now you are sitting on the sidelines, having successfully timed your exits, watching the market continue to fall, but you are unsure when you have to step back in. So you are sitting there, watching the news, and it's everywhere. Experts are warning of a recession. Headlines are screaming about the next big crash. Fear is everywhere. It feels like everyone is talking about it, and the mood is feeling heavy, like the whole world is holding its breath. So when do you jump back in again? After a 10% drop, a 20%, or do you wait to a 30% drop? And this is where most investors wait too long on the sidelines to step back in again. So my point is this: even if you manage to time the market perfectly and step out at the right moment, you still have to get the second part right, knowing exactly when to step back in again. And that's almost not doable. And if you miss that window, you still end up behind. Then we have challenge number 3. Even if you manage to time the market correctly twice, what about the next time? Most of the best days in the market come right after the worst ones. In fact, 7 of the 10 best days in history happened just after bear markets. Those moments when fear is at its peak. And by the way, a bear market is when the market drops 20% or more from recent highs. So let's bring this example to life. If you had invested $10,000 in the S&P 500 between January 2003 and December 2022 and just stayed invested through thick and thin, you had have grown that into about $64,000. But if you missed only the 10 best days, just 10 days out of nearly 20 years, your return would have been cut in half, down to about $29,000. So the tricky part, those best days often happen when it feels the scariest to invest. Then we dive into mistake number 3, because the truth is, this stock market crash thing isn't about being good or bad at investing. Because even legendary investors like Jack Bogle and Warren Buffett openly admit they can't predict the market. And these are some of the most successful investors in history. So if they can do it, why would we expect ourselves to?
I don't think we've ever made a decision where either one of us has either said or been thinking we should buy or sell based on what the market is going to do.
No.
Or for that matter, on what the economy is going to do. We don't know.
Don't focus on short term. Instead, focus on your personal long-term strategy. That's it. That's all you need to know. So if you are a serious investor, one thing is guaranteed for sure. You will face a downturn someday. It's not a matter of if, but when. So the real secret sauce of becoming a great investor is this. It's all about recognizing the emotional traps we all face, because staying invested through uncertainty isn't easy, but it's where long-term success happens. That's exactly the reason why I'm a big believer in a 3 ETF portfolio who does all the hard work for you. And in this video, I will show you exactly how you set this up the easy way. So if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next video.